Hey guys, our guest today has more than 40 years of business experience, encompassing work with over 6,000 business owners and entrepreneurs in a variety of industries. She specializes in business growth, sales, and marketing, and can be found delivering passion-filled keynote speeches, hosting her own podcast, and also writing dozens of best-selling books. She has a proven track record of building businesses from the ground up and helps entrepreneurs become more profitable. Welcome to the show, the founder of Heartrepreneur, teaching business owners how to do business heart to heart, Terri Levine.
Thank you for having me, Mike. I'm excited to be here and share value with others.
Yeah, this is awesome. The whole purpose of me doing the show, and you also have the Heartrepreneur podcast, is to bring value to our listeners and just, what we learn. It's like when we're going through life, when you learn something at this point as an entrepreneur, it's like, who else can benefit from that? Like this golden nugget. You want to share it with the world. And I was having these conversations with people prior to doing the podcast, and it was like, this stuff is too good to just leave it where only Terri and I would benefit. It was like, why don't we record these things? And I was even having that just over coffee with friends before the pandemic. Yeah. And that's what kind of gave me the idea. As I would be walking towards our cars, and it was like, there's so many good nuggets there that, like a fly on the wall situation, because that's how I learned, through podcasting. And that's why I got in the business of podcasting. Before we hit some questions, I want people to know who you are. I'm guessing many people tuning in because they may know you already. And those that are kind of frequent listeners for Mic'd Up, we want to bring them up to speed. And Heartrepreneur, that's your brand, and I love it. Again, doing business heart to heart. People can find that at heartrepreneur.com. It's heart, REPRENEUR.com. On Instagram, Terri is at Mentor Terri. On LinkedIn, it's Terri Levine. And Terri, guys, is spelled with an I, Levine, PhD. And then also Facebook, it's at Heartrepreneur Terri Levine. She's got this awesome masterclass. You guys can sign up at tlwebinar.com. Terri, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And I'm just excited to share value, connect with people, and continue to make a difference.
And you're doing that. I mean, your content is great. I know you are extremely busy. You do your own show. You're a guest like this on many other shows. You do webinars, Facebook closed groups for paid clients. You have your own clients. I mean, we talked over here, over 6,000 business owners that you've actually touched their business in some way to help them out. Here's what I want to do. I like to kind of bring things back to the beginning of the timeline. So when did that love and interest for entrepreneurship actually begin?
So when I was in college, I was going to be a speech language pathologist. That's what I have my first master's degree in. And I just decided I wanted to start my own clinic. I didn't know that other speech pathologists had not done this. I just assumed that people started their own business, and they did not. So in graduate school, they didn't teach me anything about sales, business, or marketing. I moved from the East Coast to the Midwest, where I was not accepted at all. It was very cliquey. And here I am starting a speech clinic. And it was the most difficult thing ever. I had to get doctors to refer. I had to beg for patients. And I finally got the thing off the ground. And then I realized other entrepreneurs also struggled. And eventually, as I owned more and more businesses, I developed systems and formulas, and they just worked. Right. They worked, and then I had to share them with other people.
Yeah. So basically, it was you got up, you figured it out, you created it, and you continued to mold it as you went, which I think most startup entrepreneurs and solopreneurs have that experience. But then you didn't stop there. And I know a little bit of your background because we worked together, but you continued to grow and develop. And then again, like we talked about in the beginning, what we learn, as entrepreneurs, we then share. But in a coaching standpoint, the things that you learned that worked well for you, you then implemented to help your clients. Can you talk a little bit about how you got that started?
Yeah. So about 27 years ago, I started business coaching and business consulting, and began to help initially family and friends. So in 30 days, I had 30 clients. Literally, people just were like, "Can I pay you? Can you help me?" And they started to have these great track records of success in all different industries. And I worked with companies like General Electric and Parkland Hospital and all of these other places. And everyone, whether it's a startup, whether it was someone who was stagnant or someone who needed a business turnaround, no matter if they were a solopreneur, a huge Fortune 100 corporation, I was really able to get in there and go, here's what you need to get a conveyor belt of qualified prospects. Here's a better way to sell without selling, just being heart to heart, how to do business transparently with integrity and authenticity, which is what Heartrepreneur is founded on. And so now I even have a crazy guarantee. It's 200% return on investment, or I give you all your money back. Plus, I give you a check for $5,000. So I have a formula. It works as long as you apply it.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, you can get all the information. You can read all the books. You could go to every webinar. You get the gold stars for attendance. But until you actually get up off your chair and get moving, or if you're working from a laptop, I don't care what you're doing, you got to implement the things you learn. And I was just talking to my girlfriend about that. We're reading books together right now where we actually take turns reading. And we just read Think and Grow Rich for the second time. And we're going through all the notes. And I was like, look, we need to actually take now all the notes. We read the highlights, and then we take handwritten notes. And there's questions in the book. It's a great book. I'm sure you've read it.
Of course, many times.
There's a ton of bullet points that it says implement these things. It's great to read that book, but until you actually go and say, how am I applying this to myself? And that's what you did for yourself and then started to do for your clients. And I love that about you. And you also you're doing something you're great at. It's not like you're all over the place. I know you kind of see some people get into all these different things, and your thing is really helping out entrepreneurs from the ground up. Did you have kind of a role model early on in life, or someone that you kind of aspired to be similar to, but in your own vein?
Good question. So as I started one of my businesses, Zig Ziglar was my first mentor and made a huge impression on me. I still go back and repeat Zig stories in my head and certain things that I learned from Zig. So he definitely had a huge place in my life. And secondly, I had a mentor early on in my second business, which was an art consulting company that I started. And she mentored me just incredibly. We were very good friends, and she was my mentor. And she made a huge dent on how I deal with people and not to be salesy, not to come across, not to close people, not to manipulate people, not to overcome objections. Both Zig and her name was Eileen Seed, have made a huge impression on me in my life.
Yeah, Zig is if there's the Mount Rushmore of inspirational leaders and guys that just their brilliance has been turned into hundreds of quotes, probably thousands of quotes that we see floating around on social media. He's definitely an influence. Did you work with him one-on-one, or did you mean through his coaching programs?
So I became a Born to Win trainer for his company. So I experienced really, understanding the whole Zig Ziglar concept. And then I taught those principles to people for about 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just breathe them. I live them. I breathe them. I think them. Yeah. It's not like I have to stop and think about it. Unconsciously, they play out all the time.
I feel like that's a sign of a good leader too. And I didn't know Zig personally. I do know a lot of his content. A sign of a great leader is that they also turn other people into great leaders like yourself. So you went through his programs, you worked with him directly, and now very much you are giving people the same values and benefits that they got, like yourself working with him. Now people can come to Terri and they work with you and they get that same or similar. Now it's your personality behind it, your personal brand behind it. And I want to kind of hit 2 things on that comment. So I want you to talk about why it's important for not only young entrepreneurs, but really any business leader to have a mentor, because that's so important. I want your words. And then secondly, the heart to heart for Heartrepreneur. I love that. I love the branding that you work with. But I was wondering if you felt that there was maybe a need or a lack, even pre-pandemic, where people were forced to be physically distanced. But before that, even, is there a lack of heart-to-heart in business? So mentorship and then heart-to-heart.
Okay, 2 of my favorite topics. I believe that mentors have mentors. I know that Oprah has coaches and consultants. I know Tiger Woods at one point had 6. I know a lot of football players. I know a lot of actors. They all have mentors. Mentors have mentors. I have 8 of them right now, 8.
That's awesome.
So when people say, why are you so successful? Oh, you're so lucky. No, it's not luck. It's something you said earlier. I implement. It's not red pill, blue pill magic. I actually implement. And I have mentors that lead me, that guide me, that are running faster than me, that are helping to lift me up. So I invest in mentors. And I don't believe anyone, if you own any kind of a business, should do business without some type of a coach, consultant, or business strategist. I don't care if it's me or somebody else, get somebody to help you. So that's number one.
Yeah.
Heart to heart. And heart to heart and Heartrepreneur actually came from talking about what was not quite right yet. I was looking at the world of business. I had been CEO of a national healthcare corporation for 5 years. And I was really looking at the world of business and noticing that it was all transactional, even online, Facebook, Twitter, transaction trend. And I thought, this way of doing business is broken and I want to disrupt it. And I was with a publisher of mine, I don't know how many years ago now. And he said, write me a book on how you do business. I've known you for 11 years and you need to write that book, Heartrepreneur. And I said, Heartre what? I still remember this, Mike. I'm like, what? He goes, it's the way you do business. Write me that book. And I was in New York City, took the train back to Philadelphia. And on the train, it was like one of those, I could have had a V8 moments. I'm like, that's it. That's how I will disrupt business, by teaching people how to actually do business, not transactionally. That's broken. That method doesn't work. And how to do it transparently, in integrity, and authentically. And that has exploded and taken off. We have almost 5,500 people in the Heartrepreneur family right now.
Yeah. How long has Heartrepreneur been up and running and have wings?
So my company initially was called Comprehensive Coaching, and we literally transitioned that company to Heartrepreneur probably around 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay, wow. So 5,500 members in less than a decade. That's phenomenal for at any level. So there's a lot to unpack there. I wanted to kind of follow up on. So mentorship has that person who's been there, done that, but also allows you to kind of get in the helicopter view with them and oversee things. So then you can literally be looking at what you're doing. Because when you're in the trenches, and correct me if you feel that you have a different opinion, but when you're in the trenches, a lot of times it's hard to see that. And this is for business. This is in life. If you have a bad habit, you don't realize it because you're doing it right in the moment. But if you watch yourself do it, of course, you go, holy smokes, I never realized I did that or whatever. So it's by taking a look back, a larger view. And then you're also with a co-pilot who's been there and done that. So they're not going to fly into the wall that you're going to collide with because they've seen it and they acknowledge it. And then they go, let's go around it. There's a door right here. You just can't see it because maybe the doorknob's not in view yet, but it's there. I promise you, because I've been there and seen it. And again, you have 8 mentors, which allows you to get that same experience 8 different ways. You take your collective notes and now you're a superpower.
Yeah. And those mentors, just to be clear, they're in many different aspects of my life. Yeah. Humor, relationships, business, sales, marketing, health. And there's so, many different areas, because every single day I'm a continuous learner. I want to grow and I don't want to make mistakes. I want to learn from people who've been there, done that. So I have shortcuts in life and things happen faster.
I just wrote down well-rounded. Like it's important not to just be great at business analytics or coaching, but it's well-rounded. You just mentioned a coach for humor. Who thinks about that? But it's important. You're in front of people all day. You're on stages pre-pandemic, right? You're in front of people, large groups of people. It's important for you to have that it factor, and you got to turn it on. And I know how easy it is for someone who's practiced and rehearsed and confident and has it all together. But it also, when you do it, 150 times a year, like the best of the best get coaching. You just said it. You mentioned a handful of names that all get coaches. That was the first thing. We talked about mentorship. And the second thing was the light bulb moment for Heart to Heart. You were out and about. You were working with someone. It wasn't planned that they would give you this idea, that they saw your business as something that was connected to this heart to heart Heartrepreneur feel. And it's important for anyone listening that, yes, it's like we need to stay in our lane and focus, and we can kind of hunker down in our offices, wherever that may be, and get work done. When you're out and about just meeting with someone, they see us in this different light where we're shining all the things we're working on. And someone you didn't expect to give you the name of your business just said, Terri, all this together, it's like you're a heartrepreneur. And you kind of knew it because you were already being it, but it took someone to analyze it that way. So I think it's important for people to interact with people, keep the community aspect going. Yes, we're in a state of pandemic. It's February 21 when we're recording right now. And don't lose touch with people, because great ideas come from just being out and being seen. And I think that's a super important takeaway.
Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting. So what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today.
Here's what I just mentioned again, the pandemic. I don't want it to be too much too intertwined with the questions, but it is important to address the current state of the world that we're in. Mm-hmm. And I know you work all across the globe. Do you feel that, there's a quote from Marv Levy, who's the Buffalo Bills coach for many years, and you can see I'm a big Bills fan.
Yes, I can see that.
All the Bills stuff behind me. Here, his quote was, "When it's too tough for them, it's just right for us." And I think that goes for a sports team, because people had to come in. The Dolphins came in from Miami, and we got snow flying sideways. And when it's too tough for them, it's just right for us. But I feel like in the pandemic with business and entrepreneurship, everyone's hurting. So I feel like if you're going to take a risk, it seems like now is a time where, people who are doing well 6 months ago are kind of hurting. Why not just give it a shot? Do you agree with that mentality, or do you think now is maybe a dangerous time to get started?
So I'll say this, my business has grown exponentially during the pandemic, and so have all of my clients' businesses, and they're in diverse industries, and they're in 19 different countries. Mm-hmm. It is not that, there's a pandemic and I shouldn't start a business, or business is going to suck, or people won't hire me. You have to just shift. You have to look at your business and say, how do I change it up a little bit during a pandemic? That's all. And once you understand, it's easy and effortless to change up your business. Within 30 days, you can be money-making mode. Just to give you an example, I have a client that came to me in July. She had made $258. That's it. Yeah. And she panicked. By the time December, the end of December rolled around, she had done almost $300,000. So there is a shift in, I looked at her business. I said, great, this is what we need to change. She's an implementer. She did it. It's a great time to start a business. It's a great time to expand your business. 2 things, Mike. You've got to get your inner thinking right. And then you've got to take the right proven actions. And that's a problem. I see many people taking all the wrong actions. Facebook ads, not the right action. Posting all over social media, not the right action. In-mailing people spam, not the right action. So you have to learn the proven formulaic actions. Then you will have a conveyor belt of qualified prospects. You'll have your income.
Wow. Mic drop moment on the show right there. I want to create a highlight reel from all my guests, and right there, Terri, because I talk a lot about mindset on this show. You got to get your mind right first, and then you got to take action. But that's not telling the whole story, you just said. And it's great for us to talk about that for a second, because it's like a bull in a china shop, right? I said the other day, some days I feel like a bulldozer in a china shop, because I just go in a million different directions and I'm knocking things over. But that's taking action. I'm up, I'm moving, I'm calling people, I'm doing all this stuff. But until you actually take, and I like that you added the right proven actions, then that's when you're going to see some progress. And it's important because what's right for you is maybe not right for me and my business at this time, right? You said Facebook ads. I know Facebook ads that have launched businesses in the stratosphere, but for the right or wrong person, it's not the right time to do it. You have to everyone has to have the different things in place. Like, for example, there's all these different diets. There's the Atkins, there's the keto, there's I'm close to being vegan right now and doing this thing that's really helping me feel better. But it doesn't work for everyone. Has their own thing that works for their body, for the tone that they're looking for. Maybe they're bodybuilding. A bodybuilding competitor is going to have a different diet than the guy who just wants to be looking good for their summer vacation.
Exactly.
And if you tell, no, it's my way or it doesn't work, that's not being really, like you said, heart to heart, understanding who you're working with, putting the right process in place. I think that's awesome.
Let me pick back on that one point.
Sure.
There's not a cookie cutter approach, right? And that's why I have some problems with how some coaches and how some courses and membership sites are out there. They're cookie cutter, and it's not cookie cutter. No. Your business and my business, your personality and mine are different. So that's why you need somebody to really help you and be your strategist, your advisor. And while coaching is one of the small skills that's in my large bucket of skills, I really believe you need to have consultants and strategists who tell you what to do. And you don't go, well, if you knew the answer, what would the answer be? Because if you knew the answer, you'd be doing it. So that's why I'm able to have a strategist.
So good. And you just reminded me too of, and I use a lot of sports analogies, and I think I'm going to just stick with it because that's what makes sense to me. And I think our audience in general can relate to it, is that you can have the best, where I'm going to name a guy who's in the Super Bowl right now for the 10th time, Tom Brady. Love him, hate him. Everyone knows who he is. But here's the thing. As good as he is, with the wrong systems around him, he would have been another guy 3 years in, 3 years out of the league. No one would even remember that he existed. But with the right processes for himself, he trains harder. I know he's always the first guy there. You hear it over and over. First guy there, last guy out. But he also trains like crazy in the offseason. He's 43. He looks like he's 23. So his processes are in place. But then the team around him, everyone has to be doing the right thing for it to click. And when it clicks, it's unstoppable. And so I think that's important for our audience to understand. Like Terri, for example, like let's take you. I'm going to look at the timeline. You've been doing this 40 years, which is crazy because that means you started when you were like 4, right?
Oh, I love
there you go. There it is. There it is. Kissing up to the guest. But for example, if I took you when you started 40 years ago and just relied 100% on your own natural talents, there's gifts there like crazy, but it's these things you added to it that turned you into a superpower. And with the wrong things around a great person, they can struggle. So I feel like entrepreneurship is a gift that a lot of people have. They can learn it, they can sharpen it, but it's the systems in place that really allow some people to go to a whole different level. And my next question, instead of talking about all the like mindset and strategies that we can implement, I want to talk for a moment about things that you feel are maybe the biggest traps for entrepreneurs so we can identify them and they can avoid them. So traps that can hinder success.
The first trap is that many, many entrepreneurs are undercapitalized. And so if you say to them, here, you need this one piece of software and it's $100, they think it's the end of the world. So there's a study by, I can't remember, it was in Harvard Business Review recently, and it said the number one reason that people's businesses fail is they are undercapitalized. That's number one. Number two is people go into business because they have some idea or some passion, and they have no idea if people want to buy what they want to sell. So I had a client come to me and she's like, oh, I want to sell people, confidence coaching. I said, that's great. Did people tell you they want confidence coaching? She's like, no, but that's what I want to offer. I said, do you know people who want to buy confidence coaching? She goes, I don't know. So we surveyed her target market. That's not what they wanted at all. Right. They wanted help starting a business. So you can't just start a business because there's something you want to do. That's like a pet rock that disappeared pretty quickly because people really didn't want that. So you have to be capitalized. You have to do some research. And then the last thing, we've kind of talked about it in our journey today, is one focus, one goal. I see people who one day they're talking about being a chiropractor. The next day they're talking about helping people lose weight. The next day they're talking about supplements that they sell. And when people don't know who you are and what you do, one focus, one goal, a confused mind doesn't buy. Those are the three biggest mistakes that I see, Mike.
Yeah, I think those are great. I mean, I have a ton of notes here from this. I feel like I know you have dozens of books out too. I saw that all over Amazon, and I want you to talk about that too. And we can even get a couple of those in the notes for the show. But there's so much over the 40 years you've been doing this that it's hard in 50 minutes or so to get it all out. But that was really great. So you got to have capital to get rolling. Make an offer that makes sense to your market. Do not just only do what you love. You got to do what you love, but you have to figure out how it serves people. If it doesn't serve anybody, you're the only one being served, and that ain't going to pay. There's a great quote. I forget who said it. They're extremely wealthy, but they said, you want to make $1 million, help 1 million people is the mindset. And then my latest guest, Amber Christian, her episode came out yesterday. She said she created a business around the thing in tech that she loved to do, but it was the thing that people hated to do. So she knew that they didn't want to do it. So there was a demand for it. People would love to pay you to do stuff that you don't want to do yourself, right? And if you love to do it, and it's a thing that others hate, now you're working with your market. And then the last thing you said, I love this: one focus, one goal. If you tried to take one extremely talented person, give them 20 things to do, or like a mediocre person, give them one thing to do, I think that we know who's going to get to the finish line first. And it's not the person you would think at first, right? It's because you like, again, it's the bulldozer in a China shop mentality. And
let me give you one example. I have a assistant on my team. She does one thing. It's all she does, which is she looks for great connections on LinkedIn, and she begins an authentic conversation with them, not pitching them, just authentic conversation. That's all she does. She's great at it. She can do it quickly. She's brilliant, and she loves it. I have another virtual assistant who handles a completely different task. He does that one skill because that's what he's good at. And every person on my team has a special skill, a special talent, and I don't ask them to do anything other than what they're brilliant at. And then same for me. I can do what I do that's easy, effortless, joyful, and fun. And there's things I don't like to do or I'm not the best at. Those things I delegate so I can be focused.
So good. Put people in position to succeed. And also, I know, like, when we go through school a lot, the mentality is like, if there's a student that's good at 9 out of 10 things, the one thing that they're not doing well in, like maybe it's 10 different classes, right? And they're struggling in math. Everyone just beats them down about their math instead of like realizing they might be a brilliant scientist or a different subject or historian or something. And maybe they become a history teacher. But like they just were hit over the head. You got to learn this math. And if you don't get it, like find what's the one thing that they're extremely good at. Or if it's a sport, maybe they're not great in one sport. The parents might try to fix them on the sport they're not so good at. And all that time is wasted when they really should have just been playing the sport they love and are good at. Such great advice. We mentioned this off camera. I got to make sure that you get to voice a little bit, because I'm in a frozen tundra of Buffalo, New York, as we record this. It's literally like 10 degrees out. That's before the wind chill. You created a business, and I love this, and this is something that I'm aspiring for myself. But you created a business where you can work from absolutely anywhere, and you're doing that from a beautiful beachfront home in Mexico. And also, I mean, you're gazing at the ocean. You got the jungle right there. You also have the Jersey Shore when you're out in New Jersey. So a couple beautiful views you have throughout the year. You travel often when it's allowed, of course. Can you share a few takeaways on how you made that a reality?
Yes. And I feel this is so important. I talk to my client family members about this all the time. Create your lifestyle first, and then create your business around it. People work backwards. In my experience, most people create a business and then they realize all they've turned their business into is another job, another job. They're working hours with no boundaries. They have little or no vacation. Being an entrepreneur sometimes is trading a 40-hour-week job for an 80-hour-week entrepreneurial work. So what I did is when I quit my job and I started my consulting business, I said, I'm going to establish a business where I can work anywhere in the world, where I can be off on weekends and on Fridays, and where I can close down my doors and literally just use my phone or my computer, which is what I've been doing for 27 years. So I am living in Mexico 4 months out of the year for about 10 years now. As you said, if I open the curtains behind me, you've got, beautiful jungle and beach and all that great stuff right outside, a pool on the deck. I mean, it's amazing. So I'm here for 4 months. I live on the beach in New Jersey. Again, I love to see the ocean, and I live in Philadelphia. When there wasn't a pandemic, I would normally travel about 9 to 12 times a year, speaking in different locations all around the world, turning many of those into vacations so that after a few days of speaking, my husband would join me and we'd have a vacation.
Yeah.
So I really want people to stop for a moment and ask themselves, am I creating a business and giving up a lifestyle and time freedom, or have I first created a lifestyle and time freedom and then fit my business into that? Reverse engineer your business.
That is so good. And now I just remembered that I forgot to really try to sell you on the fact that we needed to do this interview in person. Right, full paid, the whole thing, right?
Next year, you have a date next year.
Right, let's do it. We'll do this. Part 2, maybe I can be on your show and I'll come by and do it that way.
Let's do it.
You mentioned your husband. I was going to get to him as well, because in family entrepreneurship, it's about finding that partner who gets the crazy. They have to understand the crazy. A couple of questions I want to give you. Take the time to give a shout out to your husband. And also, is he entrepreneurial, and how does that work with your lifestyle?
Great question. So I met my husband when I was 16. We started dating when we were 17 and we've been married well over 40 years at this point. So
congratulations. That's
thank
phenomenal.
you. I'm very blessed. I really have an amazing man in my life. My husband is also entrepreneurial. We co-owned one business along the way, the art business. We worked together really, really well. And he's a financial advisor. He's also independent in his own business. We keep our businesses separate. As you were talking about, some people are really great at math and some at English. I am not good at math. I don't like math. He is amazing. He does all the financial stuff. He is not someone who would be on camera. He's not coachable. And we know this about each other. So I do what I do. He does what he does. We respect each other. We honor each other. And we have different ways of working and different styles of work. So we allow each other that kind of freedom to do what you do and do it how you do it. And we don't understand each other's businesses. Sure. We respect and admire and honor each other.
Yeah, I can tell just when you were talking about your husband that you're glowing, talking about him after 40 years, you're still in love. I could tell the same way when you were 16 years old. And that just hits my heart. And I love hearing that. So that's why I want to make sure we took that time, because a lot of times people, it's hard. It's so hard to have a life when you're working 60 hours as an entrepreneur, and that's on the low end usually. And I did the thing. I jumped out of the plane, tried to figure out how to build a parachute, and I walked away from a 50-hour-a-week corporate job where I was making really good money, and I took a chance on myself. And I just wanted to say that a lot of times my family sees me and they're like, you have this time freedom, yet you're not able to do this and that because I choose to work over, maybe go to the get together or whatever, because I know I have. But it's to get to a point where, and I could also work anywhere a laptop and this microphone can plug in. And it's fantastic to be able to do that. But at the same time, I'm building to the place where there's that, I don't want to say comfort, but just that ability to be able to, okay, you know what, this week is going to actually be a vacation and get to that level. Because in the beginning, it's really, you feel silly kind of taking a vacation if you're not tackling your goals yet, right? So there's that balance. But I love the point, and it's written down here, lifestyle comes first.
Yes.
And then everything else starts to solve itself, right?
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about you. We got a little under 20 minutes. And I know with entrepreneurship, it's inevitable that they're going to overcome some kind of adversity. They're going to deal with adversity and then have to overcome that. Do you have a favorite personal comeback story that you can share with us?
Yes. So I don't share this a lot. I have a neurological disease. It's called reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And on the McGill pain scale, it is the top of the pain scale. Amputation is underneath it. So is brain cancer. Nothing's even close.
Oh,
And I got that disease about 17 years ago now. And for the first 2 years, I was in a wheelchair. I was on 29 medications a day. And I was given ketamine infusions, which is elephant tranquilizer. It's a major hallucinogenic. So physically, I was pretty much non-functional. And then mentally, and all that medication. Because I had established my business with systems and with other people on my team, my business actually grew during those 2 years.
oh,
I was down. I mean, physically, mentally, emotionally. And here's the comeback part. I was having a complete pity party one night, like couldn't take the pain anymore. And I kept saying, why am I alive? I don't want to be here. And I was really contemplating checking out.
mm-hmm.
And I started to write a note to my husband about why I wanted to check out.
Mm.
The next thing I knew, I'd written a book. It's called Magnetize. And I'm like, what is this?
Wow.
And the message from the book kind of got to me and said, Terri, think outside of yourself. Stop the pity party. And I went online and I discovered that people couldn't afford the treatments I was getting, and that children have this disease and they're not as strong as I am mentally, physically. And I took it on as I got this disease as a gift.
Mm.
And starting the next day, I told my therapist, you need to stand me up. And she said, you're not going to be able to stand. And I said, if you don't help me, I'm doing it. I stood for 5 seconds, was the first time in 18 months. And 2 weeks later, 32 seconds. And so I moved on. I marched on. My husband and I started a foundation for children with RSD. And I shifted my focus. It's not about me. This is a gift. Let me help others. And that has made the most massive difference in my life.
That is so amazing. Thank you for being vulnerable to share that. Incredible to see you. I had no idea just by seeing and working with you and all the things you're doing. You don't let that hold you down or be a crutch. What it is you worked from, and it took you a second to get there, understandably so, in the pain you were in and the crazy medicine that you're in. But now you reflect on it. It sounds like you realize that everything happens for you and not to you. And
I'm so glad you said that. Yes. Yes. When I asked myself, how is this for me? That's the question I started to ask. How is this for me? And I thought, wait a minute. I have RSD. I speak on stages internationally. I have books that are translated into many languages. I have the ability to get the word out about RSD and fundraise and help all these kids. Oh, I get it. Thank you for this gift. And that really is how I feel about it. Thank you. I know why I was chosen for this gift, and I will work to my highest ability with the gift that I was given.
Yeah, use your voice. Something my grandfather always said. You got to be vocal, use your voice. And I knew he meant for good, not just get out there and yap so the neighbors could hear you, but make sure that the things that you can have an influence on, that's a responsibility. I think we all have a responsibility to leave the planet better than we found it. And I think it's a sin if someone just stays in their lane and kind of works a 9 to 5 and doesn't talk to many people and whatever, and they go off and they kind of, it's all certainly admirable if you're taking care of your family and doing that and stuff like that. But man, how can you use your gifts? And you realized in that moment, my gifts are what's going to allow me to help more people. Beautiful. Well said. So you have a ton of books out. But what about yourself? What kind of books do you enjoy reading, and also podcasts do you listen to? Like, who's your biggest influence, would you say?
So first, you probably laugh because I do something that is very unusual, and it's a way of reading called photo reading. So I read about 200 books a month, okay? And it is through a process of photo reading. So I can read an entire book in maybe 2 minutes, and I can give you the essence of the book. Sometimes I even can photo tell you, oh, in chapter 3 on page 16, there's 7 bullets about marketing or whatever. So it's called photo reading. So I'm an avid reader. I read books on sales, marketing, and business, and I read all kinds of books. I have read books that were written in the early 1900s on understanding the human brain and marketing. I'm also a clinical psychologist. I've studied positive psychology. So I read a lot of books on the brain and neurology of the brain. For podcasts, I listen to anything and everything that has to do with entrepreneurs. So, whether it's called, there's the word entrepreneur in the title, it's probably one of the ones that's in my list that I listen to.
Yeah.
Like to listen to podcasts when I work out. That's kind of my quiet space, and I really let them in. When I'm driving, I also do that. And the other thing is I have podcasts on health and wellness. And now I'm learning more humor. So I'm listening to some comedy that I never thought I would listen to.
Yeah.
So I always say this to people: listen and read things that will expand you in the area that you're focused in, and then listen and read things that will draw you a little bit outside the area. So I'm listening to some, humor that's so beyond me, and yet it's giving me that appreciation. That's my advice for folks. And photo reading is an amazing thing to be able to do. My clients, a lot of them are learning it as well.
That's my next YouTube video, is to learn and the practice and see what that is. That's tremendous. I mean, I know, again, one thing I study is people who are where I'm looking to aspire to be. If I was an athlete, I'd pick the person who's kind of had the career that I want to, I don't want to say replicate, be myself, but, admire getting there and steps. And then not just be like, okay, I want to do this, have the same career. Okay, well, how did they get there? What steps did they take? Like you said, the practices, the things. And reading is something that I saw all wealthy people. Okay. And it's not even just the wealth. The fact these people who built tremendous businesses and are highly respected, the one common denominator is they all read about a book a week, or a book, minimum a book a month. And it's not easy to do, because we also don't have a lot of extra time. We're not just twiddling our thumbs, but you figured out a process now that allows you to read 200 books a month, and you have my ears perked up. Maybe we'll talk separately about that, because I would really love to do that. I also have more of a photogenic mind than I do words. So
very quick for you then, trust me, because I don't, and I had to train myself. And one other piece that I'll add, I read a lot of autobiographies of business people, whether they had a lot of failed businesses or whether they, founded a business, whether it be in the computer industry. I read books outside of my own profession. And I look at all these different businesses, whether it be bricks and mortar or a franchise or McDonald's or Steve Jobs or whoever. Let me look at their mind, how they thought and how they did business. And I learn a lot from autobiographical books. I'm just recommending that for folks.
Absolutely. You also mentioned this, I don't want it to slip through, is some of the books you're reading and on psychology as well as business were from about 100 years ago. I know we talked about Think and Grow Rich. That was written in the 1920s, I believe, or 1937, possibly. I'm picturing, talking about photogenic. I think it's written on the cover, 1937 text. It's close to 100 years ago. And I'm just reading this thing going, this stuff is applicable today. Like, it feels like someone wrote it today. And it's just unbelievable. And I think it's important. Yes, we want to make sure we have all the modern technology and the tricks that are 2021 approved, right? But guess what? The core things that are going to really deliver the punch have been working for over 100 years. So if you think that just a thing that started yesterday is your key to success, how about learning a 100-year track record for these businesses? And look, I don't get anything for trying to sell this book. There's so many good business books, but since it's on my head, he interviewed like 500 entrepreneurs and picked their brain and put all the notes in one book. It's like a Bible for business, really.
It is. And, nothing has changed. I tell people this. If people ask me, well, what would you do if you were starting your business today? I would do the same exact thing that I did decades ago. I would forget that social media exists. I'm going to just give a little advice here. I'd forget that computers exist. You may think that's very strange, because I find that people use them as crutches. They hide behind their computer. They spend their day on social media, and they end up wasting a lot of time. I would do what I did early on. I would go out and meet people. I would create value for them. I'd pick up the phone and call people. I'd create value for them. I'd call the newspapers, radio, and television shows, and I'd offer to appear. I was a nobody and was on all of these shows, and people go, how'd you do that? I pitched.
I just did, yeah.
Right. And so if you just go back to basics, you can go back to what somebody did literally 100 years ago. And human beings are the same. We think the same. We do advertising the same. Psychology is the same. Our DNA is the same. Nothing has changed. And in fact, in my view, some of the tools like a cell phone and email have gotten in our way and blocked us. So if you just forget technology and go back to basics, you'll grow your business faster than somebody who sits on social media all day. That's my advice.
Because once you have the foundation built, it's important in marriage. It's important in building a home, a business. It's important in your marketing strategy is the foundation. Then you can implement those things. And it's kind of like, adding the sprinkles on the cake. And then all of a sudden, when you're already moving forward, it amplifies it. You can't really amplify something if the sound's not turned on. It's like putting, guitarists can get this, all the pedals. You can have 74 pedals for your guitar, but if the amp's not turned on, they don't do anything. So that's awesome. I love that. A couple more questions. We're running out of time. We got like 8 minutes to get this out. This is not meant to be a curveball, but it's something that I think can really help us understand who you are. But if you can be known for one thing, what would it be and why?
It would be acceptance of all human beings, period. Acceptance of all human beings. And the why behind that is we are in a world, whether it's today or whether it was 50 years ago, it doesn't matter, with a lot of division, a lot of people judging people, making decisions based on their size, their shapes, their beliefs, their culture, their color, whatever it might be. And I feel very blessed that when I was a young girl, first of all, I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood and in a diverse culture. So I never really saw any differences in people.
Did you grow up in Philadelphia? Is that right?
I grew up in Yonkers, New York.
Yonkers. Okay, cool. I've been there before.
Yeah. And I remember I was young, I don't know, it was 5 or 6. And I saw the first person I'd ever seen who had a hearing aid. And at that time, they were very noticeable. They were very large, right? And I said to my mother, what is that? And why do they have that? And my mother didn't tell me about hearing aids. She responded by saying, Terri, notice people, as their hearts, not their differences. All people are the same. My mother wasn't well educated. That was the most brilliant advice I ever got. And so that's how I live my life. I notice everyone as the same, regardless of what they look like, what they believe, what color, shape, what size, what religion, culture. I could care less. I love human beings, and I'd like to pass that forward.
That is beautiful. That's amazing. So good. Thank you for sharing that. And a couple more here. The mission of my show is to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. If you can talk to our audience and kind of put a summarized thought so they can be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, what would you tell them?
So this is my advice and my message. We don't know how long we're going to be on the planet. We all have birth dates. So our feet weren't stamped with a checkout date at birth. So we don't know. Live in the moment for the moment. The past is over. You cannot do a thing about it. The future is not guaranteed. So I don't even think about a future. I think about today. What is it that I can do today to make a better life for myself, my family, my health, my well-being, my love, whatever it is today in this moment? So if that requires you to do something that you may feel is a little risky or a little brave or a little bold, you only have this moment. And I encourage you to do what your heart says to do in this moment. Forget about past and stop thinking about the future. Right now is the present, and the present is your gift.
Wow. Yeah, and I love that quote too, right? That's why it's called the present, because it's a gift. Wow. So many, I always edit a promo, a teaser. How am I going to have a teaser that's 50 minutes long? I mean, this whole thing is the teaser. Like if someone's thinking about starting a business right now, go back and put this on 2x and take notes so you can listen to it in 30 minutes and get, that's what I usually do, is listen to things on like 1.5 speed or 2x, not 200x like you do with that's a whole different gift. Last thing is, I always say in my emails, the ending, be great and be grateful, right? 3 things you're most grateful for.
I am most grateful for my client family members. They let me wake up every day and do what I love and love what I do. So I give gratitude to them. I am most grateful for this amazing man that I am married to, who stands by me no matter what and loves me and adores me. I am most grateful for that. And I am most grateful for health, because without health, none of these things would be possible. And every day I give gratitude for all 3 of those things.
Amazing. And I have a feeling that your husband feels the same exact way about you. I can tell. Awesome. This was like, I'm going to go back, and I've said this before on the show. I always do listen to my own interviews, and I usually wait some time and kind of like, I'll probably listen to this when it comes out, which is going to be weeks from now because everything else is queued up. And I kind of forget about the meat of every question and conversation. And it's cool because, look, I wake up some days, I am amped up most of the time, but there's sometimes, maybe something just hit me wrong. An email came at me and it just like, I kind of got this weight. And then I'll be driving somewhere and I'll put my show on. And here's Terri delivering these like bombs of information. It's just so much value. And all of a sudden I'm like re-enlightened by my own show because of the cool guests like yourself that I have on. I'm going to let you get off. I know you have another interview to do. This has been a pleasure.
Me too. I'm honored to have been able to play, and I just adore you and the work you do. So thank you so much. I really do.
Thank you. I'm honored to call you a friend. And guys, check out heartrepreneur.com. It's Heart, Repreneur. Mentor Terri on IG, LinkedIn. It's simple. It's Terri Levine, PhD. And then, of course, on Facebook, it's at Heartrepreneur Terri Levine. Thank you again.
Thanks, Mike. Much love.
I love you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. Check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKEDuppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.